congratulations on your podcast, Indie Spunk. What has that been like kind of building up to that release and now having it out for people to listen to?
The buildup has been uh it's been a while. I mean, I feel like I've been kind of building this idea for years, like thinking about it, or I've always wanted to do a podcast and I never really knew what it was going to look like. And then when I built the business, I really could start to see, okay, and the thing is that I wonder if you relate to this at all, but there's so many projects that I want to do in my life, and it's not always the time for all of it, and we can only do one thing at a time. Sometimes we can do, try to do like three or four things at a time, and I kind of juggle a lot. So I'm juggling the acting, I'm juggling the filmmaking and my own projects and that I direct and produce, and then the business. And so adding the podcast on top of that was, you know I was like, can we do it? But it was really the right time. I had been talking about it for a while, and I think I was starting to get a lot of clarity on what is actually helping people in my mentorship business, which helped me figure out how to actually, because really the podcast is to help more people make films and demystify that process, and open that door or open that window into what's going on inside the industry and how they can actually participate in it rather than feel like they're so far away from it. And I think a lot of things are actually more accessible than we think they are when we have examples of how it has worked for other people, especially for femme creators and for non-binary folks. So there was a drive behind it that was more than just, I want to make a podcast. It was like, no, we need to make a podcast because, you know what I mean? Right. So we've got to get this out there. So I've been thinking about it for a while. I had been laying some of the groundwork towards the end of last year. We were supposed to launch it in January. Things never go to plan. And
How
I
it
guess
is.
right. I guess I'm like lucky that I'm an indie filmmaker because I know, you're constantly creatively problem solving. So when things fall down, you go, great, we'll figure it out. We're going to get back up. We'll try again. And this is a bit indicative of my like quick startness, but January was too tight a deadline. I was like, we can do it in January. And then January came, I was like, we can't do it in January. Like multiple other launches. I was on set for another project. So it was too many things. But then we kind of regrouped, came together, and we put the launch to March. It was supposed to be March, and then it ended up being early April that we kind of finally came out with it. And we had the launch party this week, which was incredible. And the episodes are out there and people are loving it, and it's building, and I'm excited. I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, it's to help people in the entertainment industry kind of find their way. But I'm
Mhm.
wondering for you, when was the moment when you realized this was actually going to happen and actually be like a real podcast? Because it was in the works for a while.
Um, oh, that's tough. I, gosh, when did I know it was going to be a podcast? I always knew I was going to do a podcast. I can't even tell you, I can't pinpoint. I can pinpoint when I knew I wanted to make the business.
Okay.
And which I think was really the kind of, the mother of the podcast is, how I'm working with clients and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. I think I've always known that I wanted to do it. Um, but I guess if I had to pinpoint a time, it would probably be like mid last year that I started seriously talking about wanting to get it done, and then really thinking about what this was going to look like and putting the paces in, and I have my own mentors and coaches as well, and talking with them. I think it helps to discuss your plans with other people to actualize them and to make them feel real. But yeah, I'm sorry, I have that's a terrible answer for you. I don't know.
No, it works. It works. But you've had some great guests on the podcast so far. I'm wondering for the future of the podcast or just your work future in general, who's a dream collaboration you would want to have?
On the podcast, like an interview.
Yeah.
Okay, I would love to. I definitely have like a dream list of people I would love to interview.
Okay.
Um, I'd love to have on the podcast people like Emerald Fennell, Issa Rae, Margot Robbie, Shonda Rhimes, Greta Gerwig, Amy Simons, Ava DuVernay. I love this, femme creators who have made it for themselves, who are doing it their way and also making an impact with the work that they're making. They're using their profiles and building their profiles through making their own work and then lifting other femme and non-binary voices as well. So I think that those are kind of, I always want to know exactly, what step did you take? I think a lot of interviews, this is another reason why I was excited to do a podcast. I think a lot of interviews sort of glossed over the how of it all. It's like, oh, well, I booked that role and then I landed that thing and then I made that film. And in the interviews I do, I'm always like, wait, stop right there. What did that look like? Like, what was the email that you sent? What was their response? How many times did you need to follow up? Because that is the barrier, I think, for a lot of emerging filmmakers and actors who want to make their own work, that they think, oh, if I try once and it doesn't work, that's it. And usually, right? It takes years, it takes time, it takes repetition, it takes showing up again, and it takes not worrying about the no's so much to really see things happen. And so I always want to demystify that and get out of the, oh, I was just lucky to be there. It's like, no, you worked your ass off to be there. And we want to know exactly what that looked like,
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, you do give really good advice in the podcast, but I'm wondering, as someone who's passionate and in the entertainment industry, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten that you give to others?
So much advice. I have so much advice. I'm gonna be as specific as I can. I think the best advice has been some kind of amalgamation of, don't worry about getting it perfect, just get it going. That quality really matters in your film projects, but it's not as important as the quantity of practices you have. So just make stuff, just keep showing up and making stuff. And the thing that we always hear, which I think takes a long time to implement in our own lives, because we naturally are geared towards worrying about other people's opinions, but remembering that other people's opinions just don't matter. Like, they have nothing to do with you. They're not your business. I think we hear that all the time. And I definitely heard that a lot, even before I was in the film industry. People say that like casually, and you think, oh, that's nice to hear. That's nice to hear. But learning that and really feeling that is the most empowering thing that can possibly happen for you as a creative, for you as a person in the world. We get so caught up in what everyone else is going to think, and it just takes you showing up confidently. I think a lot of creators that I talk with, I work with many actors who are starting to make their own work as filmmakers, and their concern much of the time is, well, who am I to do this? I don't have any experience. I don't feel confident doing this. And I think that the answer to that is, when you show up confidently, even if you're not confident, even if that voice inside you is like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, because I've totally been there, right? I've totally, absolutely been there. I was an actor that started making my own work. And when you just show up and say confidently, I'm a director, then people say, oh, okay, she's a director. That's it. And we complicate it and we worry about it. And the truth is, no one cares about you as much as they care about themselves. Anyway, so I think it's in that kind of realm of, get busy, make stuff, don't worry too much about the opinions, and be confident in the things that you want to be doing, even if you're a little bit not confident inside.
Yes, definitely. But
Yeah.
going back to the podcast, if you could describe it in 3 words, what would they be?
This is so hard to do. Someone else asked me this, and I always cheat. I'm like, I'm going to give you phrases. I don't know. If I could describe the podcast, I would say it's kind of like spunky DIY. It's inside industry knowledge, and it's like having a sister, best pal, mentor figure guide you in the things that you want to be doing and cheering you on. So I gave you so many words.
It's okay, they work. But my last question for you, obviously this release is exciting, but do you have any future projects that you could talk about or hint at?
Sure. So I'm about to go into pre-production on a short film. I have a feature film that's in the works that'll be shooting next year or going into production next year. So I'm laying the groundwork for that. And then I'm about to shoot a short film, which is great. I just love it so much. It was written by one of my actually first clients, who is also a great friend of mine. And it's really powerful. It's about I wonder if I can reveal the log line. It's still in development, but we're about to go into production, and it's a drama, and it's about, I'm gonna hold on. Let me read you the log line so that I don't, because I don't want to. She's the writer. I'm the director. On a routine day selling luxury water to supermarkets, a struggling actor witnesses an act of violence. I've predominantly done thriller film, like psychological thriller films, and this is, which I love to do, and I'll still maintain that, because it's, I mean, my most recent film that I directed, wrote, and acted in and produced is Seafoam, and it's doing festivals right now, and that's a psychological thriller, and I love working with that genre because I really love working with sound and tension, and finding a way to get in the character's head without too much dialogue. But this is a bit different. This is a drama. And I think Gemma Scoble, who's my co-creator on this, is very, very talented. And she's done a really great job of articulating this, what it feels like to live in a world like LA that's really shiny from the outside and beautiful and exciting, and then on the inside it will eat you alive if you're not careful. So I love the script. I'm really excited about the project.
Yeah, and I'm excited to hear more about it.
Thank
But
you.
congratulations on everything again, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Gracie. This is so much fun. I really appreciate it.